his favorite pet names. But when he wasn't calling me Monkey, it was Gus. It was Jet. It was Jet. He said, "Hey, Jet, I'm a Chevrolet." I said, "What now, Grandpa?" He said, "Yeah, the French made me a Chevrolet." And of course, what he meant was the French had made him a chevalier in the Legion of Honor for flying cover on D-Day. But he liked to refer to himself as being a Chevrolet. It's not an honor as being a French knight, like calling yourself an American car. There was also one time we were up at Lake Tahoe with the kids and my parents and my brother. We were having this lovely dinner, and our waiter had an accent. And we were trying to figure out where the waiter was from. So we finally asked him, and he said he was from Romania. Well, that, of course, triggers Grandpa. He started asking him about Dracula. And my brother John turned white, and I swear I thought he was going to crawl under the table and die. It's really easy to embarrass him.
Thank you.
So, you know, I have all these stories of all the crazy, funny things he did. And I can still see the twinkle in his eye and the slight smirk because he loved a good inside joke. He loved the fact that no one knew what he was talking about. He loved being taken seriously, even though he was not serious. And one of the things I love is I can still see that twinkle and that smile every time Stephen, my son, does the same thing to someone else, especially my mother. So I'm going to leave you with a quote from his favorite author, Mark Twain. "Humor is mankind's greatest blessing."
We'll have words by Isabel. And this is his, one of his great granddaughters. Yeah.
Sorry about the phone. If I don't look at my words, Okay. I'm Isabel. I'm one of Hank's great granddaughters. I just want to say thank you again to everyone coming here to remember someone who is important to so many of us in this room. All right. Growing up, you know, we all had our favorite stories, maybe a favorite superhero, favorite book. Grandpa Hank was like my own personal hero and storybook. I spent hours upon hours in his little casita listening to him talk about building radios. And when you're 6, you don't really know what a lot of those parts are. But he told me about it every time I was in there. Or he would play the same vocal song on YouTube for about 3 hours. And he asked me if I knew how to change it. I did not. But as I got older, we started to talk about more important things. I remember when I was in 7th grade, I needed to do a project for school where you had to interview someone that was important historically, and I remember thinking so hard, like, oh, who can I interview? I have no idea, because to me, Grandpa Hank was never growing up like this war veteran. I only knew him as a very loving, kind, safe haven. And then it flipped that it was him. But I asked my Nana, and she said that he hadn't really talked about World War II a whole bunch, ever really. But he let me sit down with him and interview him. They put it on a bunch of CDs, and everyone got a copy of it. And then he also explained how he didn't really know to dance, but his Nana wanted him to. That he was really trying to learn for her. He had a great sense of humor, and even during that interview when we were talking about some really terrible things going on during the war, he made sure to crack a few jokes. And he was a great reminder that life doesn't have to be so serious. It's okay to laugh and to find the joy in small things, because even 100 years in, we found the joy in the small things. And could make lots of jokes. I remember one one of the best dry jokes he ever made was his 99th year of living, and I had asked him if he was excited for Christmas. And he told me that it gets pretty repetitive after doing it 99 times. So he didn't really know what more to look forward to. And then John mentioned that he played many instruments, and when I was 11, he gave me his euphonium. I didn't know what a euphonium was. He was just like, here, you have it. And I was like, oh, I don't know what it really is. And he's like, it's really easy to learn. It's not really easy to learn, especially when the valves don't work because the instrument's 112 years old. Not super simple. But he still sat me down in his room and he taught me how to play it a little bit. And later that year in 5th grade, I got an award for teaching myself how to play the euphonium for him. But the thing that I learned the most about him is that he loved his family more than anyone I've seen that I've met has loved their family. It was not so much in the loud moments because I only knew him when he was almost completely deaf. There was never a point in my life where grandpa wasn't completely deaf and we had to have yelling conversations with one another. But it was in the quiet moments when we would watch black and white films or just sit next to each other while everyone else was having dinner or lunch and it was too loud outside for him, so I would sit inside with him on the couch and sit in silence for 2 hours. But to him, everyone in this room was everything that he needed. And it is really hard to put into words how much we'll miss him and how much I know I'll miss him. He was a lot more to me than just a great grandfather. He was like my best friend. But I know that in the little things and in the quiet moments that I have and that we have, we'll all remember him. And that he'll always be that safe place in the quiet room. And we're lucky to have had him as people, and the world was blessed to have been changed by a soul like his.
Last but not least, we have Charlotte, who's the 11-year-old. And she has support.
Her support crew.
I remember one day when my sister, my mom, and I remembered a present. He told me a neighbor comes in and told us stories about him. He also told us stories about me. And I remember how sad I was when my heart blew because all I wanted to do was listen. I knew that one day I would never be able to hear stories again, so I stepped back. I was doing anything to go back in time. I was so happy to see you. I remember when I went to see you. I was so happy to do this. I was so happy to see you. It was my birthday. There was a thing about I thought you could come here. I thought to myself that he was the first person. I left the faces on my friends. I think of him as the most annoying and popular person. I love him so much, and I will make it so much to love him, but I want to him and how to love him. The stories we have to tell, we can have a special place.
Before I read some of the reflections of different people who have sent stories, one of the things my brother touched on, my father was a ham operator for my entire life, probably way before I was even thought of. He was around, but my brother and I, younger brother and I weren't. And we would go into the garage and we had a little man cave in there, and I'll never forget his call letters for K6 BSB. So he would talk, back then it was Morse code, and I remember he was talking to people in Russia China, Europe, all over the United States, everywhere. And he continued to, he was an avid hand till he died. And so one of the young, but I do have another thing. What Jenny touched on Chinese food. Being a kid, when we would go out to have Chinese food, my father, they always give you that almond cookie at the end. And he called those toenail cookies. So we wouldn't eat them, but he would take them home and have them. So, that's what he used to do. That was another part of it. But this comes from his friend Scott Decker, who was the last ham that he talked to here in the area. And he wanted to say, K6 EFB, that was the call sign for Hank. Amateur radio, or ham, as it's also known by, was something Hank was involved in for long before I met him. But it was something he did with passion and pride. I met Hank on the radio in March of 2017 when he was chatting with another guy and talking about his experiences as a B-17 pilot in World War II. I was instantly fascinated with his voice and the subject. I grabbed my microphone and made an attempt to jump into the conversation, and they both responded with a welcoming voice, a message that they were glad to have me join in. Over the years after that, I couldn't wait to get on my drive home just to call him up and the others for a chat on the way home. There were days when conditions were bad and we couldn't communicate, but by then, Hank and I corresponded through email in addition to the radio. Because I was new to him and the others he spoke with regularly, I found out they had the name for their little group, the Yawners. When asked what that name was, it was simple. They talked about anything, and in most cases, it was things that would make you yawn. After that, I became the newest member. As the years passed, so did the other members, and eventually it was just Hank and I. He was a very kind and modest man, both on and off the radio, and he never had a bad word to say about anyone. When others heard that he was a B-17 pilot, he always said that he wasn't a hero, he was just getting shot down. When telling stories, it was flying time. He was then and always will be a hero to me, and I will miss that kindness in his voice, which is gone now and silent. In the ham world, the show of respect for a radio operator that has passed is a silent key. This means no longer can send Morse code. Additionally, ham operators will always say 7-3 as a term for best wishes or kind regards. And we always ended our conversations with it. I posted Hank's silent key status on one of the ham websites, and I was amazed at the information that was presented by some of the people in the community we call hams, and even a couple that had also spoke with him over the years. Hank's voice was heard all over the world when he got on the air. His voice was heard in South Africa, Europe, and the US. I have and will miss his voice and the emails we shared. Hank had troubles hearing from his flying days, but he told me once that there was something in my voice that he could hear me a bit better than others, and that's why he enjoyed talking with me on the radio. Well, Hank, I hope you are hearing me now when I say it was always a pleasure and honor to chat with and be in your presence over the years. So Hank, I bid my final 7-3 to you, and rest in peace. That's funny. And then lastly, we have a friend by the name of Juan that could not make it either. And he and my dad, he loved my father like a son would love a father. And the two of them had a great sense of humor. And for his 98th birthday, Juan was there, and he gave him a $100 bill. And my dad gave him $2 back and said, "I'm not going to make it to 100." Well, then they went to the 100th birthday party, and Juan handed him back $2. And Juan was like was the last person that my father actually. He was the last person he talked to. Juan did most of the talking, but I'm sure Dad heard him. Everybody says, and even though you're in the last stage of the flight, your hearing is the last thing to go, and they really encourage you to talk to them because they can hear you even if they don't acknowledge you. But, yes, so, like I said, Juan cannot be busy, but he definitely sends his regards. Thank the family for letting him be part of it. Now we're gonna have a short video.
Yes. Just what I need to do, just make her pass. And then also, just the services. I haven't seen HDMI, so and then how do we get this screen? We just, that's just asked her to put it on that, so she can turn this on. Was it projected? Yeah, I think so. Because I just want to put it out here. I have an HDMI, but I've never plugged it into
Bear with us, I guess we're a little technical.
Yes.
Huh? I was like, I don't know how to work Mac. This is the power. So this is just, I just put it in charge of her battery itself. Oh, can I, if I can see, here it is. Very light. You do not well, gentle. Yeah, that's fine. Wait, where am I sitting? Okay. This is the power cord. Just for the sound. I'm gonna sound. Perfect. Yeah.
Gotta show you up.
Yeah. We'll be.
I got it.
Jarrell.
I would have.
All right, well,
Yeah, we can email it out. But what's wrong right now is the adapters.
another obstacle. We can't get it linked up. So what we're gonna do is if we have your email, we're gonna send you a copy of the video. That should have taken place. I think, are we doing it? You like YouTube right now? Oh, it's also gonna be on YouTube, by the way. So now I just want to just give a few closing words to thank everybody for attending today and coming. At 1 o'clock, there's going to be a flag ceremony, but until then, we have lots of food. We're serving all of Dad's favorite, Popeye's chicken. I think it's gonna have mashed potatoes and coleslaw, rolls, pollo loco chicken with beans and tortillas, Reuben sandwiches with sweet potato fries, lemonade, iced tea, water. So, and then for dessert, we're gonna have a pudding bowl. It's not fancy, but it's what he loved. Yeah, along with a cake to commemorate his passing. In fact, we loved him. It's part of our life. I thank everybody for coming today. So the food's being set up in the back. I want to also really give a shout out and a big applause to Jarrell, the young lady in the back. Thank you, Jarrell. So, if anybody wants to get up and say a few words about Hank during this time, please feel free to tell your story.
So
Okay, that's fine. You don't need to say
I thought you all might like to hear of something that was in the archives of the Des Moines Register Tribune. And it went back, first of all, to 1927, when the headlines on the first page said, John Darlington 6 struck by car. That happened while my dad, Hank's brother, John, was on his way home from Sabin Elementary School on February the 22nd, George Washington's birthday. So they had 1 year, February 22nd, 1928. And folklore in the neighborhood, I couldn't find this in the archives, has it that one Henry R. Darlington, also 6 years old, was hit by a car at the same intersection, 6th and College in Des Moines. It knocked him down, he got up and ran home, and apparently told his grandmother she helped him. But it took place exactly 1 year after the fact on Washington's birthday at the same intersection.
There you go. Yeah.